So much for sitting down and talking with me. I
Oh, of
really
course.
appreciate this. So I came across your article and it kind of floored me because I can be I like because I'm not educated in this space and I'm just a dad trying to figure it out. And I'm talking about like your call to autistics with communication privilege, and
Oh, yeah.
it immediately struck me because I was like, "Oh, hi. That's me.
Mm.
I am the autistic with communication privilege." And to be honest, I didn't even know what RPM or FC, what is it? Rapid.
A rapid prompting method, and S2C is spelling to communicate, and then there's speller's method, and there's kind of lots of different kind of philosophies.
Yeah, and I didn't realize they were a thing. And so when you started talking about how people are against this type of communication, I was genuinely floored. Because I was like, wait, I this is a thing and people are against it. So I'm really glad that you can help educate me just a little bit more. My son is a high-tech AAC user, which means I'm also a high-tech AAC user. And I guess I want to start with like, what's your experience using like what has been your experience using those methods, both like if it's as like personal, both and professionally?
Well, um, so as far as my experience, like personal experiences using like high tech AAC, like after seizures and whatnot, or before when I can't really get words out, but your son is how old?
7.
7. So that's a great time to start high tech AAC. But um, I feel that there's no like either or using those. I think they should be a part of like a good SLP's like toolkit, both.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people who didn't get to start high tech AAC either the right way or they don't have the motor skills to use it. Uh, Doing those other methods are like training the motor system to point and to look and to get through all of the like environmental issues and including like emotion, um, like inner anxiety, whatever. It teaches to communicate through that and allows the motor skills to be eventually directed by the communicator. So, spelling, as we call those motor based methods, like just spelling in general,
Mm-hmm.
spelling is a great way to teach the skills to be able to use high tech AAC at one point for those who don't already have those skills.
Yeah. Nice. I was really drawn in when when you started talking about apraxia and how I think what I thought was one of the lines that I thought was really most important was when you were talking about uh motor planning breakdown and a shutdown. And as as an autistic person that communicates well most of the time, it really that I really identified with you relating my specifically my inability to sometimes access my words to connect to the same thing as the same it's the same breakdown in communication that non-speakers have. And I thought that that was such a really important point for people to realize, because I think I didn't quite like I think I had kind of subconsciously known that, but I think that that was something that I really connected with, that brought what you were saying to the front of my mind, to say that we're all the same, and we all have the same we all have the same, in a lot of ways we all have the same struggles. It's just a matter of variance of like how your functioning is, and
Hmm.
that we all kind of can go up and down on the functioning spectrum, if you will. And so I want to speak on, is it, do we pronounce it Asha, American Speech
Asha.
Lang Asha?
They're called Asha. Asha. I'm
Asha.
actually speaking at um their national convention next weekend
I
here in
love that.
DC.
I see, to me I'd be like, wow, drama. But
I've
maybe not.
spoken there before, and they know my stance.
That's interesting. And one of the things that was really struck, so the first, after reading your Substack article, which if you're listening to this, go read her Substack article. Uh, is I went to Asha's website to read, like, they have like a page of why they're against uh RPM and FC. And the first thing I was struck by their page was that there was no author on their page. And so I think it made me read their response with a little bit of skepticism, because there was no name behind it. Like, organizations, I've been a part of large organizations. Organizations can't write uh opinions. Someone in that organization had to, or people in that organization had to pen their opinions. And I think I'm pretty naive when it comes to this, but I understood their argument, which is that it can limit independence or authorship in the non-speaking autistic. And I have a couple questions, so let me not get ahead of myself. But one of the things that came into my head is the idea of, so when facilitated communication, and is when the facilitator can help move the board, or help move the, please, yeah, please tell me, cause
Okay.
tell me what it is, so we have a proper working definition, because like I
Okay.
said, I don't know what I'm talking about here.
So, what all these motor-based communication methods have in common is that they recognize the person's inherent um, intelligence, for one, and that's called presuming competence, not presuming that somebody is a genius already or knows everything. It's just presuming that they can learn what the general population can learn if taught.
Yeah,
It's just that they can't show it, because the only way to show it is through our bodies, is through our motor skills.
yeah,
And if you don't have access to your motor skills, you heard it, access to your motor skills, then how can you show your intelligence?
yeah,
And in society, the automatic presumption is, if you can't show it, then you must not have it, instead of, oh, maybe there's a reason you can't show it, right?
absolutely.
So it's a faulty presumption in the in society itself, right?
Yes.
So what facilitated communication and all these things differ in, besides what they're the same in, what they differ in is how much access do they help with? How much motor support are they given? So there's a spectrum in that as well. So facilitated communication gives way more direct motor support. So that tends to give communication um, earlier for people, because it's easier, because they're doing less on their own. That's it.
Yeah.
All it is a motor support. The other ones, people are holding the board, but they're not moving the board. They're not
And
supposed to be
that's
moving the
rapid
board.
prompted movement.
Speller's method, spelling to communicate, rapid prompting method. They're not touching the person, so they're giving a lot less motor support.
Got it.
The motor support they're giving is holding the board and training the person to use their own body to get to those letters. So that's the difference, is um, facilitated communication just gives more upfront motor support. But with all of these communication systems, the end goal for the communication system, not necessarily for the person, but for the communication system, is independent communication, where nobody's touching you, nobody's holding anything for you. You take your keyboard out and you type away, right?
Yeah.
And these,
That's one of the things that confused me most about Asha's positions is that it seemed to like almost silo almost seemed to silo AAC from FC, from facilitated communication. Whereas to me, as a lay person who doesn't really know what they're talking about, it seems that like facilitated communication would always be as a precursor to advanced independent communication, which they seem to kind of ignore. Although, like, you know, if facilitated communication is someone's ceiling in communication, that is, you know, their communication, and I believe we want the best access for everyone to have communication. And I guess my next question is, because Asha didn't spell this out in their position paper, I guess is what I'm calling it, that they didn't propose any alternatives besides traditional high and low tech AAC. And so I guess my question, and I think maybe I know the answer, but because I guess I would like to ask them this: what's the alternative to non-speaking autistics who aren't able to use traditional high or low tech AAC devices if facilitated communication and these other methods are not acceptable methods for independent communication?
Well, they're going to say the alternatives are, um, so there's several things. There's this person just doesn't understand how to use communication or doesn't understand the point of the communication. So they're going to blame the person and um, uh, their degree of disability. Or they're going to say, well, they need more modeling for AAC. Um, they may need a different AAC device, or they might need to use eye gaze or something like that. Um, or
And how is having an SLP interpret eye gaze any different from rapid prompting method where you're kind of prompting someone's finger? To me they feel very similar to the same thing. Is there a reason why one is more traditionally accepted?
it's just because there's no difference, by the way. So I'm glad you said that. There's no difference. It's just because basically they didn't think of it first.
Interesting. And I'm a constant cynic, and I don't trust people
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
And so that brings me, what's it, and maybe it might be as simple as we didn't come up with this, we're uncomfortable. But what do you think? I'm big into politics, and so I really don't trust anything anyone says. And I always say, you know, what have you done? And I'm gonna follow the money. So
Exactly.
I guess I'm asking, is there like a financial reason that they've taken this position, to your knowledge? Because that's whenever someone seems to go against a go against something that is helpful to people, oftentimes there's a financial incentive, and I really hope there isn't, but I have to ask.
Oh no, there's definitely a financial incentive. So imagine, so for um, SLPs who are very closely tied to the BACB, who certifies the BCBAs and ABA therapists and their curriculum. Um, the states and insurance agencies will pay $60,000 to $75,000 per year for a child to get ABA.
Yep.
So that's a huge industry. And then the SLPs, they do a lot of ABA tactics. So do the special educators. It's part of their curriculum that they're taught, even though they don't call it ABA. I know from working in schools that they're doing ABA like every single day. And it's all these people are tied into where they're they're getting thousands and thousands and dozens of thousands of dollars per child from states and insurance. this system can be taught fairly rapidly. I would say I did my training in 10 months. And if somebody's already being trained in speech language pathology, I mean, all they have to be taught, and OTs too, all they have to be taught is the how the brain body disconnect is informing the behaviors of autistic people. And it doesn't take that long. You could maybe add another 12 weeks to somebody's curriculum and take some things out, like all that ABA stuff. And you wouldn't need to spend more money. You could spend a lot less. You could not have these kids in ABA and have them doing spelling and doing activities that increase their brain to body connection. And that's fairly easy. So we would take a lot of these people out of service with this. And what people don't understand is we actually work on speech too. Like when people get to more advanced levels of spelling, they're working on saying what their letters are, while they're spelling them out. So people can't say, "Well, I don't trust what you just wrote." So we work on saying the letters, the words, things like that. And they know all this. They know getting to independent um, usage is the goal, and they don't get that many autistic people independent with high tech AAC in the school systems and the speech language pathologist centers. They don't know. They cause, in fact, my speech is about AAC trauma, how like poor implementation has caused a lot of people, non-speaking people I know, to not even want to use AAC, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, high tech AAC.
Mm-hmm.
So they know all this, and they know that that would take out a lot of money. I mean, parents can spend what, $150 on letterboards and learn how to communicate and teach these methods with themselves and their we call them spellers, their spellers, or their children. Caregivers can teach this method in we have a lot of older adults who are just getting to communicate for the first time from the facilities that they live in, from their much older parents. What have the speech language pathologists done for those people through all these years with all their knowledge and research?
Yeah, this was all really a shock to me because I have always approached communication from the attitude of all communication is valid. If my son gives me a look, and sometimes I know exactly what that look means. Like, that's communication.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes he gives me a look and I have no idea what he means. And that's
Mm-hmm.
communication too. It's just communication I can't understand, so I
Right.
didn't understand, so I can't respond to. But if I understand what he's saying, even if what he is saying is a look, then I don't understand why that kind of communication is not valid. And to me, it feels like the only issue I can see from a layman's person with these communications methods seem to be user error. And user error is probably not the best way to say that,
No, you're
but
very right. You're very right.
it's
It
it seems
is.
like this would go wrong only when the facilitator, that's the
Mm-hmm.
word I was trying to
Yeah.
access, uh
We say
it
practitioner now.
practitioner, nice.
Yeah.
It's when the practitioner is untrained or using it improperly.
Mm-hmm.
That seems like it would be the only, which they don't really mention. And I guess this might be a stretch, but I want to ask it anyway because it popped into my brain. So, I just had parent teacher conferences last week, and my son is working on writing his name. Uh, and he's so my son. My teacher was like, now I have to be hand over hand with him when he writes, but he's writing his name by himself. Like, he won't do it if my hand isn't there. And she specifically even said when I make my hand over hand much lighter, too light, he'll stop and look at me and be like, put it back on. but she hands over, hand over hand, he's writing his name, which first of all, like brings me all the joy of the world. That my son is starting to write his name and starting to write. I think that's amazing. But I'm wondering, how does that differ? How is my son's teacher hand over handing writing his name, except widely acceptable practice, but the same kind of assistance for communication isn't?
Yeah, it's not. It's not different.
Cool.
So it's just
Awesome.
hypocrisy. Yeah, it's just that in that moment, the teacher understood that your son needed motor support to communicate. Most people who have autism to where they can't speak, they have global dyspraxia. So their arms, their limbs, especially the fine motors like eyes, mouth, obviously the speech issue, the fingers and the
Mm-hmm.
elbows and stuff, like all the fine motor stuff. And um, they can't usually feel where their arms or feet or hands are in space. So giving that motor support connected him to what he could do. Like he couldn't feel it before, but it connected him to that. So that's just the same recognition. It's just that.
It's the same, and it's the same whether he's writing his name or whether he'd be trying to communicate on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
facilitated communication doesn't even move the person, like the teacher said, the facilitator is usually pulling back when it comes to facilitated communication because the arm needs that feedback. Like I'm holding this person back and they're going forward. I'm
uh,
holding back for that feedback. I'm not pushing them towards the letter. They're doing that, but they need my hand to say this is where your arm actually is. But we don't need that level of um touch forever. It also is a prompt. That's literally a prompt that gets faded as they get more motor and muscle memory. That doesn't automatically come. Like
yeah,
typical people don't understand. No,
it
well,
feels like you're describing a counterbalance.
that's all it is.
Yeah, it feels like you're describing a counterbalance, which makes total sense. It's always I always I'm in a I always wonder like what's typical and what's not. Because like something like that like makes total sense to me, and I'm like, is that my autistic brain, or is that just no reasonable?
Yeah, I never know. So I always have to ask like neurotypical people, what do you do
Yeah,
here?
I thought about like making that like a segment, like a reoccurring thing that I post about, like, is this typical?
Yeah.
But I feel like polling the general internet never ends well.
No, you're right about that.
I think uh I think that's all the questions I have. That was super insightful. I'm really glad. Thanks for sitting down and explaining. So you were saying that getting distracted on social media is similar to non-speakers.
Yes. So when you said that you put a boundary on that, that is an example of motor privilege because you can put that boundary on there and you can stop your body. Where people with like severe global dyspraxia, they might see those things on those icons or those notifications and they can't stop themselves. And that's what a partner is there for. That's what a communication partner is there for, to prompt them back to their sentence or to their letters, to get them back in their communication.
It's like what typical people would call body doubling.
Yes, it is body doubling. It's just you need your body double there for communication,
Yeah.
whereas communication privilege people just need it there to get some extra work done. So we should expect people with more debilitating disabilities to need more help, right? More
Yeah, to
more
need more
support.
support, absolutely.
Yeah, so that's a communication is just a body doubler for communication that's there more time, like that's a little bit more invasive because they have to like, hey, look over here.
Yeah.
Whereas we need that too,
Oh
actually.
my God,
You,
I love. like maybe this is the autistic in me, but like a lot of people, I like nobody likes to be criticized, but I wish I had in football, they I love sports metaphors. uh there's a bunch of coaches on the sideline, right? And it's typically the strength and conditioning coach they assign this job to, because the strength and conditioning coach has no like real game. He's not doing any game planning during the
Right.
game. Like once we get to the game, his job is basically done. And
Right.
so they generally assign the strength and conditioning coach to be the get back coach. And during the game, so if you're on the sideline, if you come onto the field, it can be a penalty.
Oh,
And so
right,
this
right,
one
right.
coach, his one job for the entire game is just to yell at people, get back, and just to get off the field when they get excited. And I, first of all, I would love that job, because it is simple and easy, and I get to yell at people.
Mm-hmm.
But also I love it when people do that to me. When people are like, "Hey," like something like even my wife is like really cutting about it. She's like, "You said you were gonna do this." Yeah, it's like yep,
Yeah.
yes I did. Thank you for reminding me.
That's why
I
we're
got
good in the
completely
military.
lost. What'd you say?
That's why we're good in the military because it gives us, besides the whole like imperialism thing, but it
All
gives
right,
us like,
Tiffany, you just opened up a box. You just opened up a Pandora's box with me that like we might have to sit down and discuss it via separate discussion, because the autistic to military pipeline is
I
like
know
it breaks my heart.
it does. Yeah.
I used to be a do you know so in California we have the regional center system. I'm sure you
Hmm.
know that.
Yeah.
I used to be on my local regional center's board, and every year we have like a banquet dinner, and I
Oh
used to like
no,
what?
I'm getting scared.
I know
But
regional
go
center's
ahead.
got a terrible reputation. This isn't that bad, I promise.
Okay.
I wouldn't be smiling if it was terrible.
Okay.
We were an all right regional center. We still are. I'm just not no longer a part of the board. But so like every year we'd have like we would honor people, consumers in our community as success stories, and we put together like a little video slideshow for each one, and they come up on stage. And like I never told anyone this because I wasn't close enough with anyone on the board. But like in my head, I put together a drinking game, and we like there was no alcohol at these events, but in my head, I put together a drinking game, and it was like drink every time. The success story was the consumer joining the military or becoming a military contractor, and like you could feel it coming. Like their interest in math and science took off, and I'm like,
Yep.
they're building bombs for Northrop Grumman, aren't they? And
Yep.
it's like, yep,
Yep.
shit.
Yep. And
uh
and the just being like regimented
yeah.
and
I've
the
always said I
routine.
never want to join the military. I think I would love basic training,
I know. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
My dad was obviously autistic, and the military was like so good for him.
I had a stepfather who was a veteran, and also a police officer when I was like 10, 11, and he tried to discipline me like it didn't go well. It didn't go well for anyone. But yeah, no, I mean, we love, I thought I used to have like social anxiety. I don't. I just need to know where I stand. I need to know like
Mm.
what mask I need to put on, or if I
Oh,
need to put,
okay.
yeah, I always need to put on a little bit of a mask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, you can see as we talk more, my mask slips more and more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, but yeah, as soon as I know like where I need to like what mask is appropriate for the situation, I'm good. But until I know that, who
Mm.
knows?
Okay.
Interesting stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah,
any
your motor and communication privilege is what allowed you to be able to stop. And that person who's the get back guy, he is basically those players' body doubles, because in a football game there's all this stuff going on. There's loud, there's crowd, there's the coaches and all that. There's
the
like
emotion
hundreds
of
of
what's
people.
happening.
Yeah. And just imagine a non-speaker where their daily life is like that. Their daily life is like the sensory onslaught. And our sensory, I don't think there's any difference with sensory systems between um, non-speakers to people who have communication privileges and motor privileges. I think the autistic experience is like the sensory thing, period. But our motor systems don't simply react to that sensory onslaught. We have the motor privileges of not having to run or not having to yell or not having to, climb on something based on a sensory
Bang our
reaction.
head to get release.
Exactly. Yeah. So we
Yeah.
have the motor privileges that come with that same sensory issue that I think unites all autistic people.
Yeah. I've joked that like I have a bit that's like being being a straight white fluent educated white man autistic is weird because
Mm-hmm.
like if you take out the autistic part, like I am the LeBron James of privilege. Like I got all the tools. But like especially growing up undiagnosed, I was like I've got all of this privilege and I realize I've got all of this privilege, but why am I so fucking weird?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually I figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is weird because even I have like a lot of privilege, even though I have like a lot of like intersections, I still have a
Yeah.
lot of privileges within my intersections.
Yeah. Unlike
Yeah.
me, I sit at the top of the privilege food chain. Unless I actually come from royal families, which I don't think I do. I
But
think that might be it.
you gotta, okay. So nobody talks bad about like the parents who are holding the kids' bikes when they're riding. They're still riding the bike, right? We're just holding it. And then eventually we let go. It's the same thing happens with motor-based communication systems. So
Yeah.
eventually we start off with a stencil, well, we start off with bigger letters first, then we start off with the stencils, then we go to the letterboard, then we go to the keyboard. And at each step, whenever we're going to more or different types of devices, because even a letterboard is a device, right? When we're moving to different devices, we give more motor support, just like the person holding the kid's bike
And
before they let
I
go.
love that metaphor because from my own experience, both learning to ride a bike and teaching someone to ride a bike, the person learning to ride the bike can ride the bike completely independently before they have the confidence to do it. Almost always. And I think that's really a really important fact for people to realize with non-speaking communication as well.
It's just like uh, you were talking about the body doubling.
Yeah.
Body doubling is an emotional social support, whereas so is the coach holding,
Communication.
yeah, and your parent or your caregiver holding your bike.
Yeah.
You might not be confident, but you have that emotional support in your communication partner. And part of our
Because
prompting,
even though you physically can ride the bike, your confidence isn't there, and once you realize your support person isn't there, you freak out. Your brain and body emotionally overload and you freak out, but once that person's there, you're calm enough to carry out the exercise.
exactly. This is all allowed for neurotypical people and people whose bodies move like neurotypical people's.
But
This is
because we
all
don't
okay for them.
understand how autistics' bodies work intrinsically, we don't give them that same grace and support.
Exactly. But it all happens to all of us in different degrees. Like when people who can speak just fine there's an event or a big emotion and they go speechless, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's the
if
same thing.
your sensory system was doing that to the inside and outside of you all the time, I mean, you have the same thing. You just don't realize it
Yeah.
because we're taught that one person's um, motor disconnect is okay, whereas somebody having a motor disconnect at all times is not.
It's so funny that we can't see that direct contradiction. I
You know
really
who do
appreciate you.
see it? Non-speakers see it.
I mean, and once I don't know, once I see it, I can't unsee it.
Yes,
I
exactly.
re Thank you so much for sitting down with me. This is
Of
awesome.
course.
You're amazing.
Thank you.